The wind carries the banana bushes. Oh, oh, after the summer, you followed your concubine. You followed your concubine and left the children. Poetry. The lullaby keeps swirling in my mind every moonlit night. It makes me restless on sleepless nights. There are many trees around my room, and every winter on full moon nights, the fog is thick. Standing in the window looking out, I can only see a hazy mist, like smoke from the burning of the fields. At times like that, the lullaby is heard, wafting somewhere. The mournful, mournful lullaby makes one's heart ache. I have been here for 5 years, long enough to understand every inch of land and blade of grass around the old house. Mrs. Tam's house has 5 steps, not 3, and is built in 3 rooms in an ancient style. I remember when I was in town with my family, these types of houses were often called old houses, because they looked old and sad. Fate brought me to the house, starting from the time I graduated from the teacher training school. After graduating, I got a job in a remote area, so I got to know this place. Another reason why a young teacher like me is attached to the old house is tutoring the landlady's young nephew. Tan just started 4th grade, is hyperactive and likes to run around the yard as big as a soccer field. The trees in the countryside are very rich, such as mango, jackfruit, papaya, sugarcane, all of them. So when summer comes, when the weather is hot, I can see the true value of the cool and the quiet countryside. All of these things are very satisfying because I am the type of person who likes space and quietness. I have known it for a long time, but I have tried hard to find it, but still cannot figure out where the lullaby comes from. Every time the moon is bright, it sings out mournfully. Sometimes I think it is right next to my house. Other times I hear it wailing as if it is coming from far away. There are houses around here, but they are very far away. From that distance, there is no way the lullaby could have reached here. Besides, I have researched and know that there are no children in those thatched roofs. So what is the point of singing lullabies? Old people often love their grandchildren. That's why I was able to stay in the old house for free, with a responsibility that suited me, teaching Tan to study and progress quickly. Besides going to class and teaching Tan, the rest of my time was spent sitting at the table next to the window. Preparing lesson plans, writing letters home were all done here, and listening to lullabies also came from here. Mrs. Tam is over 70. Her children work far away, leaving only the 2 of them and Aunt Hai to help with the meals, living in a spacious house. So when I come back here, the whole family is happy. Even Aunt Hai sometimes smiles when she sees me coming home from school, a rare thing for Tan, who is always annoying. In my spare time, I often chat with Miss Hai. Who knows, maybe by interacting with this old woman, I can satisfy my curiosity about ghostly lullabies. But everything disappointed me. Miss Hai always shook her head when I mentioned the lullaby. The woman's face turned pale when she heard me mention the lullaby that echoed in the bright moonlit night. As for Mrs. Tam, she was more determined. She always brushed aside my doubts with a short sentence. The teacher was busy with work and tired, so she heard it wrong. I have lived in this house for more than 70 years, and I have never heard anyone sing anything. Mrs. Tam's words made me half believing and half doubting, thinking that there was something going on at home that I had to hide from everyone. The other half thought that I was just worrying about something and daydreaming. But I am a person who is classified as having a strong personality, rarely backing down when faced with difficulties. So why did I create an illusion about the lullaby? From that day on, I was always troubled by doubts in my heart, but had no answers. Finally, too tired, I pushed them aside and forgot about them. In the last semester of the year, I was so busy with tutoring students that my health declined. One day when I went home to visit, everyone scolded me. Why is the little girl so sick at this time? But I had no time to take care of myself because my beloved junior kept following the teacher around all day. On the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, parents of students competed to invite teachers to their homes for meals. Then the festivals continued until the full moon day without realizing it. I have a habit of going to pagoda on full moon days. That day, after going to hang pagoda to burn incense, I returned home and fell asleep without realizing it. In the middle of the night, my ears suddenly heard a familiar lullaby echoing. This time it was the same melody, but the lullaby had changed. The wind carries the mustard plant to the sky. The Vietnamese coriander stays behind to endure a bitter life. Mom, don't marry me far away. Birds chirping, gibbons howling, where is Mom's house? In the quiet of the night, the lullaby echoed clearly and unmistakably. However, the lullaby was swayed by the wind, sometimes far, sometimes near, sometimes it seemed to disappear, sometimes it resounded clearly right next to the ear. I listened around. The whole house was asleep. Today I was determined to discover the long-held secret. Gently pushing open the door, I walked upstairs without a sound. Lifting the latch and slightly opening the old door, I slipped out onto the lawn in front of the house. The shimmering moonlight illuminated the queen trees and the neatly trimmed hibiscus bushes. From here, I could observe the other side of the garden, but I couldn't see my room window. Because it was separated by a row of green banana trees, the leaves swaying in the bright moonlight. I took about 10 steps to the left of the garden, but suddenly changed my mind. You can see it over there, no need to waste your energy. As I turned around, I suddenly discovered that Mrs. Tam's room window had just been closed by someone. Oh, so it's not just me who heard the lullaby. Mrs. Tam heard it too, but didn't want to admit it. My eyes suddenly stopped at the swing under the window of Mrs. Tam's room and my room. The swing was moving as if someone was pushing it. No, not pushing, but as if someone was sitting on it playing. I didn't want to believe my eyes, but I couldn't deny the movement of the swing. Above the swing, there was a hazy area of fog that looked like a person sitting, head slightly bent down to caress a child. I flinched a little when I discovered this. My body felt goosebumps in a fleeting feel. Then, remembering what Mrs. Tam had said that day, I made up my mind. If I don't clarify the truth, I'm the one who's delusional. When I was about 3 steps away from the swing, I suddenly stopped. Looking at the motionless swing, I felt confused. Was I self-hypnotizing the swing? Could it be that I had just woken up from a sleepy spell that made me see chickens as crows? The swing lay motionless, and the white fog was gone. So what did I just see? A ghostly thought flashed through my mind, and I began to feel scared. But what use was it to be scared now? Because I was standing too close to the swing with a new thought emerging from fear. If you're scared, don't come. Once you're here, it's too late to run. And my inherent calmness reappeared with a temporary heroic appearance. My hands were shaking slightly. I held onto the 2 ropes and started to sit on the swing. My body weight made the swing sway, and then by inertia it started to vibrate. I thought that Tan rarely sat on this swing, because the place where it was placed was hidden from the light, surrounded by only trees and leaves. So few people came around. However, the movement of the swing surprised me. Instead of creaking because no one had used it for a long time, it turned very smoothly and did not make any noise. The fear that had just subsided at first suddenly flared up when I felt someone shaking the swing. At first, the shaking was gentle. Then it became strong horizontal shaking, as if it wanted to throw me to the ground. Panicked, I tried to stand up, but its momentum pushed me to fall on the wet grass. My ankle hurt so much that I had to hobble to find my sandal. I stood there, staring at the swing with a mixture of fear and surprise. In my head appeared the thought of someone's lullaby next to the swing, before I came to disrupt it and had to pay the price for my curiosity. A ghost lulling a child to sleep. Obviously, the lullaby and the swing were related, although the first time I saw it moving without anyone sitting on it. The lullaby must have come from there, and that meant the swing had been moving every time the lullaby was played. That was proof of the smooth rotations that surprised everyone who sat on it, but not for long. The next morning, looking at my footsteps, Miss Hai asked in surprise, "What happened to your leg, teacher?" I looked at her and smiled awkwardly. I was sitting on the swing and accidentally fell and twisted my ankle. Without waiting for me to finish my sentence, Miss Hai exclaimed, "You're sitting on the swing? Why is that?" In this house, besides Tan, no one. How is no one, Miss Hai? Her words were evasive. The teacher shouldn't have gone out there. Just knowing that is enough. The conversation ended like that, leaving me feeling resentful. My leg became so painful that I had to apply mugwort for several days. Then I went to the market and bought a baby rattle. No one in the family knew anything, because I knew that no one would agree with my stubbornness. As dusk fell, I hung the rattle under the swing, rewarding myself for my cleverness. Now there was nothing to do but cut some banana leaves covering the window frame. Then I waited. Sitting in the room with a very upset and anxious mood, I reached out to take out some books on the shelf to look. This bookshelf was the property of the old house. It was covered in dust because no one touched it, although I used a broom to sweep it a few times. Following the spine of each book, I suddenly noticed a small notebook. The cover was discolored, lying among the messy pile of books. Taking it out under the light, I flipped through a few pages and discovered that this was a diary of considerable age. The first few pages were filled with scribbles of memorable events, but the years were very far away. Then, as if angry about something, its owner tore it up. Luckily, there were still enough words on the paper to judge that this was a diary. The words have faded over time. I had to bring them closer to the light to read them faintly. My friend gave birth and I'm so anxious. He left. The house is empty. The stuffed animal is so pretty. I love to sing lullabies. Lullabies for someone. Tears wet my pillow. He must be bored with me. August 14, 1981. Today is Bulan. The moon is unusually beautiful. Next are the intact pages, filled with very interesting folk songs. Mom, I'm a good person. A boat carrying 1,000 sardines. Don't believe it. Open the box and see. Vietnamese coriander below, sardines above. In the afternoon, I pick squash to cook soup. Run out to get the pan and meet the guy climbing the trellis. Stop, I don't love you. I will return the pair of earrings. I will return the pair of gold. Mom, the duck drowned. Reach down to pick it up. The fish bit my hand. Next to those pages, there was a torn blank space with a line of writing faintly visible in the left corner, whose meaning only God could understand. I patiently flipped through the next pages and was finally satisfied. There were 2 or 3 pages in the diary that had been skipped due to the author's inspiration, so luckily they were still intact. The dates written on the diary were a month apart, which made me think and interpret a lot. September 8, 1981. Today is the 11th day of the 8th lunar month, the white dew season, with dew. I sat on the swing with the cute stuffed dolls. I don't know how long I've been playing with the animals. I just know it's become a habit every time he's away. I understand that when a woman can't have children, it's the most painful thing in life. Even though my husband loves me, he's still cold after a long time. My husband's family looks at me with an indescribable look. Maybe they think that not having children is my fault, so everyone's eyes are so cold. Only those involved can understand this difference when they see the changes in their loved one's eyes every day. Everyone nods in sympathy, but it is hypocritical to understand that for men, having a wife but not having children is already a waste. In this place, people support, not having children is not your fault alone, but in other places, they think, there are 3 types of unfilial piety. Not having descendants is the worst. After a long time of drinking and tea, who doesn't waver? That sadness follows me with a strong desire from deep within, to have a child to rock to sleep. The longer I remain childless, the more I love lullabies. The folk songs of my childhood, heard through my mother's lullabies, now come alive with a burning belief, to be able to sing lullabies to my own child. But not all wishes in life can be fulfilled. If so, wouldn't everyone become a fairy? I want a child, but that is still my own business, and I can't force everyone to give it to me. And when people can't take care of their own affairs, don't blame the heavens for being indifferent and not caring. The sad and lonely days just kept passing by, with stuffed animals to play with instead of dreams. He was becoming more and more distant. I knew that if I didn't have a child, I would lose him sooner or later. Lose him because of the very thing we both wished for. And the most burning thing was the person who had to face 2 difficulties at the same time, keeping her husband and her role as a woman. If one day I'm still alone on the swing, then it's no wonder you left a family that forever had only 2 people. How sad. January 21st, 1984. The great cold fell on the 19th day of the 12th lunar month, the year of the pig. Only 12 days left until New Year's Day. The weather was so cold, but I was still sitting on the swing with the boring animals. Now it was just me in the cold nights, sick, skinny, with physical weakness and a long-standing heart disease. I knew I would die with my dreams still unfulfilled, but I still sat on the swing to sing the song of that day. My hands caressed the stuffed animal with the tenderness of a mother. Tears flowed down in sobs. I didn't know whether to blame people or blame fate when my small life wanted to trade everything to be a mother once, but forever far away. All that remained was the mournful lullaby that was passed down, but when it came to me, it was interrupted. Oh, the wind carries the banana bushes. After the summer, you followed your little wife. You followed your little wife and left the raft of children, poetry. No matter what, I still want to be a mother, even if I have to reincarnate in the next life. So I need to practice singing lullabies. Singing well so that when my child is born, he will hear his mother's lullaby. In the creaking sound of the cradle, lullabies are indispensable. If humans can pass on their lineage, lullabies cannot be lost to people like me. Reading up to here, I suddenly heard the sound of bells gently rattling under the window. As I approached, I saw a vague figure in the white mist, swinging on the swing. From there came the familiar lullabies, but they no longer frightened me as they did when I first heard them. Now I understood who sang the lullaby when Mrs. Tam sometimes complained about her unfortunate eldest daughter. Miss Han had passed away several decades ago. When she was alive, everyone around here praised her virtue and love for children. This explained why only little Tan could sit on the swing, while I had twisted my ankle. Looking at the diary makes me sad. People can lose many things from their attempts to make a living, but what cannot be lost is their innate talent. Not only in terms of maintaining the race and customs, other inherent virtues such as kindness, loyalty, fidelity, etc., if lost, would be really sad. And if no one complained about it, the lullaby on the swing would be so scary. Personally, I find that from now on, if a lullaby accidentally flies into my ears during sleepless nights, it is truly blissful. Because the main intention of the lullaby singer is still to bring about a deep sleep for a naive and innocent soul.